Hello and welcome back to the On the Burst podcast. I'm your coach, Brandon Savage, and I am joined by my assistant coach, Timmy Moody. How are you, Timmy?
Yeah, good, brother. I'm just trying to get out that boogie that I had in my nose from last episode.
Interesting. So, this is our NRL show, and we didn't come to you last week. We actually recorded it twice, didn't we?
Yeah.
It was, last week was pretty bad. So I made sure I got another Supercoach episode out late last week. And we're back for the NRL show this week. And pretty much, it's funny because there wasn't much news last week. There's even less news this week. There's nothing going on in the NRL world. NRL players, you got to do better. You got to do worse.
No news is good news. They're all behaving themselves. There hasn't been really any off-field drama, has there?
I've got to tell you something. So, obviously, I performed in the Sportshed TV charity match on the weekend, and I did talk about it last episode, so I'm not going to harp on about it. The jersey's hanging up in commemoration for the match because I want to play.
Stinks.
No, I washed it. There is a stain on it still. I want to play footy. If anyone knows a club around the Penrith area that can take on
to give Savs a call up, he's keen.
Yeah, I'm happy to play in the outside backs again. That was pretty good. But so we went out to the locker room hotel after. There was Clarkey, Roasty, Sportshed TV lads, BKR Sport, Jason David, Hainsey. Like, it was a pretty cool crew after. We were having some drinks. We were having a great time. And who walks past? Cameron Murray and Campbell Graham. Walk past. They just, out of nowhere, it's like they walked from a core stadium. Like, there was nobody out there. Just out of nowhere they come. We're sitting at the first table at the venue, and I point at them and yell out, "Hey, look, that's Cameron Murray and Campbell Graham." And, like, I had a few drinks in the system, so I had no filter, and as soon as they ignored that completely, and I didn't realize I was that loud. But
you got to block out the noise.
Everyone told me afterwards that it was so loud there was no way they didn't hear me because the venue was quiet. It was bloody 11 p.m. on a Saturday night outside a football stadium that didn't have any games on. Like, it was a quiet venue, and what they did, they walked in, they went downstairs, they came back up and left like 90 seconds later. So
there you go, Buzz. Well, I feel right that one.
Oh, well, there's no scandal there. I reckon they were just scouting the area for talent, you know?
Oh, he could add something to it.
Oh, he would. Off-season dramas at the South Sydney Rabbitohs. But that was my weekend. That was the highlight of the weekend. How was yours?
Yeah, good, mate. Yeah, it's just a bit of a bender with the boys up in Queensland. Got a million midgie bites all over me. So, yeah, not too happy about that. Going to have to come better prepared next time I go to Queensland.
25 days till the NRL starts.
Wow. Yeah, I think when you said it last time, it was like
50.
40 or something. Yeah.
40 or 50,
and I'm getting excited. Now I'm getting nervous. That's sort of getting me. I'm getting nervous now.
Oh, I'm a bit scared, actually, because when it comes around this quickly, it means it's going to end quickly.
Yeah, I'm just nervous that, Panthers, got to defend the title again, and everyone wants blood even more, so
they're even more targeted.
Everyone
now,
wants to see the Panthers fall even harder. So you've got a lot of pressure on the boys, a lot of pressure on the fans.
The first thing I want to touch on here is something was brought up the other day. Denon from Bloke in a Bar, he was talking about Zach Hosking, and he kept saying the word Hoskings.
Zach Hoskings, yep.
And this just made me think of pronunciations in rugby league that annoy you, and I've got a whole list of things. Hoskings is number one. When people say the Storms,
yeah, it's classic, that one. I love that one.
Adding S's to anything is bad.
Yeah,
it's not the same, but when people spell Angus or Stephen Crichton or Trent Hodgkinson with a G.
Oh, with the Crichton boys, I always get the T and the CH mixed up. I always do it the wrong way around, but I'm dyslexic and not the sharpest speller, so.
I used to hate when people would call Adam Dewey, because I used to call him Adam Dwayhe.
Yeah,
but
Dewey.
Now I get annoyed when people say Adam Dwayhe.
Yeah, I like Dewey. It reminds me of Huey, Dewey, and Louie, the Ducks cartoon characters.
And it took me a while. It takes me a while when I talk when a player is called something for a long time and then they change the pronunciation. So Papali'i took me a while to get used to, but I've gotten used to it now, and I'm happy that I'm still not saying the old way because it's the way they.
What's the old way again?
Papali.
Papali. It's weird now. Yeah, once you
weird,
get into the new way, yeah, old way's weird.
And I used to always say Papali, and I was I wasn't stubborn for bad reasons or anything. I was just like, I'm used to saying it this way.
I think a lot of these things take a lot of time to sort of they're built into our memory, our physical memory as well when we say it. So yeah, that's cool.
What have you got?
So classic one, Herbie Farnsworth.
Adding an S to it, but in the middle. The Fletch and Heine are a classic for those ones. I think in one of their episodes they kept calling him Farnsworth, and it was a bit of a laugh. Herbie Farnsworth.
I've also got one that I'm a heap guilty for. It's just one I can't pronounce. I'll probably do it now. Ravalawa. Oh, got it. Yeah, but I'm always like put the W like Wavarala, and it always gets mixed up. So I always say his name real bad. I had another one I wrote down.
I'll tell you which one actually. It doesn't annoy me, but when you say CTW, you see CWT.
Yeah, I say it back to front all the time.
It's not that bad though, but like it's just
it's just funny. I was telling you about before.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm like, is he saying that on purpose, or can he not say it? Like, surely he can say it.
Yeah, it's tough.
You're just trying to go too quickly.
Yeah. Another one I've got is like, it's probably one that only a few people, it's not every, like you say that you don't hear it much, but like it's Sean O'Sullivan, like Sutherland, or putting a D on the end instead of an N. And yeah, that's one. I'd love to go through and think about a lot of the old names. Like,
I've actually got one.
Yeah.
Actually, you're a fiend for it.
Okay.
You're a fiend for it. You used to say Jerome Luluwai
a
lot.
That's a good one.
Do you still say it?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It's Luai. Jerome Luai.
And it's funny because we get...
Oh, okay, Luai. Yeah, Jerome
These
Luai.
things annoy us from commentators where, like, you're kind of a podcaster.
Talk on football on Supercoach, yeah.
And, like, I got it from Denning Kemp saying Hoskins a lot. So
I'm sure there's heaps of people that are pissed off with stuff like that. And please send in if there's any that me or Sav say wrong that you've noticed that we pick up on. That'd be fun, whether it's footy words or even just normal words.
Yeah, true. I'm seriously bad at a lot of these things, so I can't judge. I can't say a lot of words. So shout out to the people having a dig, because it is a tough gig when people like us bloody judge you doing these sorts of things. But let's move into the NRL news. Ezra Mam re-signs with the Broncos. This is the only news I've got this week that is, relevant to talk about. What are your thoughts on the Ezra Mam re-signing? I think this is a good move. I didn't expect anything else, but puts a bit of pressure on Adam Reynolds to kind of maybe take a pay cut or retire soon so they can re-sign Reece Walsh.
Yeah, I think it's a mad signing. Like, you definitely want to keep him there. He's a really, attacking, lethal weapon. I think that his game's just going to develop too. I mean, like, just seeing how good he was in the grand final, the toughest game of a person's career, and he was elite. So, yeah, if he can bring a bit of that and find a bit, more consistency, and really, he could be one of the best 5'8" in the game. We could be talking amongst him with the likes of Dylan Brown, Munster, and stuff like that. So, yeah, all for it. 100%. I think Adam Reynolds is probably naturally going to retire, probably by the right time, though, I think, anyway. I don't think he'll be forced out. Or how long do you reckon he's got left? I imagine another year or two max.
I think he's only got next year left on his contract, but or maybe this year, and they're looking at extending him. So, yeah, I don't know. I think he'll retire, and they'll have all that.
Not that he's playing bad, but he is getting old, isn't he?
Yeah. It just feels like he's got 1 or 2 years left max, whereas DCE, he's an older half, but you feel like he can play for 5 years, but it's just...
He seems like he's got better legs in him.
Yeah, but because he hasn't retired yet, like, he could probably retire next year. You'd be surprised, but not too surprised because of his age. But he could retire in another 5 years still. Whereas Adam Reynolds, like, you kind of expect it quite soon. That's all the NRL news we have. There is a lot of other little news stories here and there, but we're not going to bore you with the boring stuff. We're not the experts, as we always say. We're going to move on to our top 5 series of our top 5 players. Let's start off with the Knights. Timmy?
The Knights. Okay. So number 1, clear standout, Kalen Ponga. Number 2, I've got Frizzell. Been there, done that. He's very reliable. 3, Gagai. I could probably put Gagai at 2, especially just if you compare like a career. Actually, I might put Gagai at 2. I'm going to stick Gagai at 2. I think we've just been a bit tough on him. Didn't make Origin last year, so it sort of takes away a little bit of his, I guess, what do you call that word? Reputation or whatever. Then I've got Bradman Best at 4. Just sort of really come into his own last year. I think he'll continue with that this year. And Jackson Hastings at 5. It was a bit of a tough one to pick, but I think he's certainly no elite player, but he's shown that even like when he went over to Super League, I didn't watch any of that career over there, but from what I hear, he took a team to a couple of grand finals, won a grand final, and he's fit into the NRL, back into the NRL really well, and he's a really handy footy player. So I'm pretty happy with that order. I think if I stick Gagai back to 2 and Frizzell at 3.
I've gone very similar. I've gone Ponga, Gagai, Best. I went Marju, then Frizzell, but I think Hastings deserves to be there over probably Marju. And, I don't know. Yeah, like Frizzell deserves to be there.
Frizzell, I get, lacks pizzazz. And Marju's obviously, as an individual winger who can tackle bust and is
but I
quite
also
exciting.
think without Hastings in the side, these players don't perform as well as they do. So I think Hastings
I reckon if you told Tyson Frizzell to his face that Greg Marshall was a better footy player than you, he'd give you a glance that would make you shudder. I don't even think
You're probably right. Let's go to the Raiders. I've got Joe Tarpanay at number 1, Josh Papali'i at number 2, Hudson Young at number 3, Corey Horsburgh at number 4, and Jamal Fogarty at number 5. I think their forward pack is their bread and butter. Their backs are really shot this year, and I think they're going to give a lot of young guys a go this year. Chevy Stewart, I'm very excited for. Xavier Savage, I don't know where he belongs, but Ethan Strange, hopefully he comes in. There's a lot to be excited for at the Canberra Raiders this year, but their forward pack is by far and away the reason they made the top 8 the last few years. Yeah,
so I know the one guy left out of mine was Papali'i, but I've gone Tarpany, Young, Tomoko, Rapana, Whitehead. Special mention of Fogarty.
I think Fogarty is one of these halves, kind of like Chad Townsend at the Cowboys, who, without them in the side, you realise how bad they can be. I really rate Fogarty. Like, if somewhere like Manly signed Fogarty for after DCE, I'd be very happy. Although I think Fogarty's a similar age to DCE, so there'd be no point in that. But let's say...
I think the Fog Dog would be a fair bit younger than DCE.
Fair. I think if the Rabbitohs signed Fogarty, the Rabbitohs win a comp this year. That's my thoughts.
Wow.
No, without a doubt, to be honest.
You think he's that much better than Ilias that it'd make the difference to them?
He shits on Ilias. He's a good halfback.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Roosters.
Yep, so Trell Mint. Number
Roosters.
1. Oh, sorry. Roosters, Rabbitohs both start with R. We did that last time. Yeah. All right, sweet. His counterpart is his opposition. Teddy, number 1. He's been given a hard rap recently, saying he's on the outer. He's not what he used to be. He's an elite footy player still, and I'm very comfortable keeping him in the number 1 position for the Roosters. Number 2, I'm gone Joey Manu. I'm still very happy with him at number 2. And number 3, I've got, this is my controversial one, Sammy Walker. Just glimpses of his skill level. even last year when he was a little bit on the outer, there was little plays he did where he just done little kick-throughs for himself and stuff that were just extremely skillful. I think he's really going to develop into being an elite halfback. I think that he potentially takes DCE's spot over... what's his face?
At the Queensland.
Yeah, over... what's his name?
Over
Dearden, yeah. If he can... if you have a really good year, I think he's a much better footy player in pizzazz-wise. I think he's just got it. I realise that Dearden's more polished and there's less green, but Sammy Walker's, I reckon, the future for Queensland. So, number 3. Number 4, another Queenslander, Lindsay Collins, had a massive year last year. Wouldn't have thought that great deal of him until that last year's season. Really had big games for the Roosters and big games for the Queenslanders. Brandon Smith's my 5th. Tough one to pick, though. With the sombrero that they've got there, you could nearly stick their whole side. There's not really anyone to leave it. The whole side's ridiculous. They should be top 4 this year. They should be top 4 every year.
Yeah, I struggle with 2 to 5. I've got Tedesco at 1, Collins at 2, Manu at 3, Radley at 4, and JWH at 5. I left out Sam Walker, but mainly because he hasn't solidified himself as a premium option. But I think he has the potential to do that. And I think late in the season, like Drew Hutchison came in, did a good job, but I think they really didn't perform their absolute best till he came in. Like, I think he does a lot for them. He adds to their attack and he brings out the best in people around him as well. So I think he's only going to get better. And my only issue with him for Queensland is his size. And I don't know if he's ever...
Dearden's about the same. Just a little bit. He needs to eat probably an extra sandwich a day and he'll be right. They're not too far off height-wise. I'd say Sammy Walker could be even taller possibly.
Potentially. I just think, he's just...
Yeah, he does need to put on... his size is his main concern. Like, he seems like a bit of a liability, especially close to the... Like, when he's defending.
Defense,
You'll always, especially for Supercoach, you'll be looking at a second row and going, oh, he's running at Sammy Walker this week. So, that is obviously an issue, but just his eyes up footy is, very, very, very good.
All right, for the Sharks, I've got Nicho Hynes number 1. By far and away, I think it's easy to get these number 1s for every side. Cameron McInnes at number 2, and this is justified by New South Wales 36-man squad. Nicho Hynes and Cameron McInnes was the only 2 people chosen from the Sharks in that. So I think, McInnes is just great, and I want to see him play Origin this year, hopefully. Number 3, Blake Brayley. Number 4, Britton Nikora. Number 5, Mulatalo. You could pretty much... Number 5 could be anyone in that side because I think they all put in an extreme amount of effort and they've got a good culture there, and I'm very excited to see them this year, and I'm excited to see them when AFB comes into the side, but I think they've got a window right now, and hopefully they take it with both hands this year.
Yep, so I've got little differences. I've got Nicker at number 2. I've got McInnes down at number 5. You had him at number 2.
Yep.
I've got Kennedy in my top 5. I think you had Ronnie Mulatalo in there instead. I think Ronnie's a great winger. Obviously was selected for the Queensland side until they found out he wasn't eligible. I think if Nikora was eligible for Origin, he might be someone that's in the mix.
He would be.
So that's worth noting as well. Blake Brayley, I think he's just a really reliable gun little hooker who's going to have a long career. So I think he's happy to have him up in there. Special mention to Finucane.
Nah.
And Trindle I've got as well.
I don't like Finucane. I like him, but I just don't... I don't think he's been what he was signed... I think he's done exactly what he was signed to do, was to bring a culture to the club. But on field, I don't think he's been great at all. He's been injury-prone. He's been very ill-disciplined on the field. Like, he's gotten suspended multiple times. And I think he's just got to come off the bench so McInnes can start. I think he's kind of getting in the way, and especially with their salary cap, I would love to... The fact that they've got AFB now, I think that takes a lot of pressure off Finucane. But, yeah, I think he hasn't been as good a signing as they would have hoped him to be. The Knights, Raiders, Roosters and Sharks, I'm going to go through each team. I'm just going to say the team. And we have to say, if they had to make one signing this year to win a comp, who would it be? So, Newcastle, if they made one signing this year to win a comp, who would it be? I mean, without saying just the obvious,
you can't say Nathan Cleary.
You've got to actually identify a hole in their side,
yeah,
and the best person for that position. So, let's say for the Knights, I think they're probably lacking middles, maybe a gun 5'8". So, I don't know if a Dylan Brown or a Payne Haas, or let's just say a more realistic one. Payne Haas isn't going anywhere, so I know Braden Hamlin-Uele to the Knights. Personally, I think Cameron Munster.
You need to be Brandon Hamuel-Uele's manager if you're like going in there and saying, this is the bloke that's going to win you a grand final this year.
Yeah.
If you want a bloke, he's your guy.
Well, realistically, yeah. Maybe Hamlin-Uele is the guy. Hamlin-Uele or Cameron Munster?
Yeah, I reckon a 5'8" would be awesome for him. I don't think Gamble's terrible.
But he does a job. He doesn't exceed the job.
Hastings is doing a good enough job there. And yeah, I'd want someone that's probably not going to get too much in the way of Ponga as well. Complement his game. I don't know who's standing out, but yeah, I'd say I'm not going to pick a player. We'll say let's replace that 5'8".
Yeah, so maybe a Dylan Brown, even who's
if they could take him, then he's
All right, the Raiders. Oh, there's a lot here. Maybe Dream Buller. It's a tough one because they need a lot of outside backs. Their outside backs need a lot of work. They need a 5'8". I don't think anyone they could sign unless they sign. And, I'm high on Fogarty. If Nathan Cleary went there, would they win a comp?
Yeah.
I still don't know. If Ponga went there, I don't think they could win a comp still because Newcastle have a better side. So.
Yeah, I don't think one superstar. They need a few extra medium sort of range players. I think they're just losing Whiten. Although he hasn't had a massive impact, you know what I mean?
It just makes them that one extra person short than what they already were because they were really short.
Yeah, yep. I don't think there's anyone this year for them, unfortunately. But
the Roosters.
They've got pretty much everything they need.
The one that screams out at me, I think they've got everything in the forward pack, the backs. The 6 or 7 aren't quite there to win the comp. So I think they need a dominant 6 or 7, whether that's, DCE went to the Roosters, they win a comp hands down.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The Sharks.
Also replacing Keary. I feel like his form hasn't been as great as what it could be since he sort of returned off that year that he laid off.
Yep.
I'd probably look at replacing him and give Sam Walker the growth. But so I don't know who, but Munster or
DCE and Sam Walker.
Yeah, and let Sam Walker play 5'8".
I know it didn't work with Keary and Sam Walker, but DC is that much better that he'll still control the side, and it won't matter if Sam Walker isn't performing as well. He can at least chime in when the opportunities are there. I think DCE is still the guy. The Sharks, first person that comes to mind, Kalen Ponga.
Fullback, yeah.
I think Will Kennedy's a good player, but I think they lack just that extra spark besides Hines.
Yeah. Will Kennedy plays really well when the team's really going really well as well, but he's not the type of guy that's going to have an individual moment and take the team on the back of his shoulders. So, yeah, I agree with you. I'd replace him with with a pizzazzy fullback.
Let's move on to the blind rankings. I have got a theme for these blind rankings, but I'm not going to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You ready?
Let's do it.
Stephen Crichton.
Oh, okay. I reckon I know what this blind rankings is. Shit. I don't really... Okay, I'm just going to go 2.
Herbie Farmworth.
Number 3.
Daniel Tupou.
Oh. Confused now. Number 4.
Moses Leota.
Fuck, this is a weird one. Fuck, man. 5.
Jake Arthur.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, Jake Arthur, number 1. I'm expecting a big year from him.
What do you think the theme is here?
Well, I thought it was going to be like best signing for clubs or like that have gone to new clubs with Crichton, and then it was Farmworth solidified that. I was like, that's what he's definitely doing. I don't know what that's really cryptic and messy. Like when Leota came up, it threw me really out.
Grand final try scorers.
Okay, mad. Okay, cool.
So you've got Jake Arthur at number 1, Steve Crichton at number 2, Herbie Farmworth at number 3, Daniel Tupou at number 4, Moses Leota at number 5. I mean, it's a decent order without that number 1.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to like compare like Moses Leota as a player to someone like Stephen Crichton. You know what I mean? They're both in a similar. They would have been in the same side, a completely different position.
For sure. All right. Cheers for tuning in for On the Burst this week. It's been, I think, because the season is just about to start. There's trials around the corner. Not much news. The show, I'm not saying it's dull at the moment. We're
hitting a little bit of it, but we're about to bloody crack off.
We're about to absolutely take off. So during the season, the structure is going to be a lot different. I think we're going to break down. A lot
more football to talk because there's football in front of us.
Exactly. We're pretty much digging from the archives here to try and make a full episode. But nonetheless, I'm still loving it. Still loving doing this. Next week, we'll do the top 4, their top 5 players. Hopefully, we have a bit more news to go over. But during the season, we have a nice little structure to go off, which I think is going to flow so smoothly. I'm very excited for the season to start. And yeah, I think that's it.
Sick one. Coming weeks, we'll start doing our ladders, NRL ladder. Predictor. Grand final, daily M's, stuff like that.
That's a great one. We'll chat on that. All right, cheers for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.